Our top story is the last day of campaigning for the Tripura polls in the northeastern state of Tripura will go to polls on the 16th of this month. Voting for 60 assembly seats will be held in one phase, and the voting will be counted on the 2nd of March.
Now, Tripura had chosen the CPIM-led left-front government for 25 years until the BJP scored a historic win in 2018. Now, the Communist Party of India is aiming to regain power in the state and has joined hands with the Congress. But there's also the Tripura Mortha that is could be quite the game changer. The Tripura Mortha, which has emerged as the game changer. Then let's go across to Ratnadeep. All right, we will be going across to Ratnadeep for more, but let's just listen in to what the former Tripura Chief Minister Manik Sarkar had to tell NDTV.
I'm now being joined by Mr. Manik Sarkar. Sir, before I talk a little bit more about your persona, I just want to understand from you, for somebody who has been so active in politics and the Chief Minister for 20 years, and even before that you've been active in the politics election after election, why did you choose not to fight this election?
Because actually I have been contesting elections since 1979. First, the party gave me the responsibility of discharging the works of Chief Whip. I did it. Whether I was successful or failed to discharge my responsibilities, that was reviewed by them. That I do not know what they actually concluded. Then 20 years Chief Minister, 20 years Chief Minister, 5 years opposition leader. So new leaders, cadres, workers, through struggle, they are also growing. So we shall have to provide space for them, scope for them to grow. So we also want that they should be helped to groom and develop as a collective team. So keeping that in mind, I thought that this time I may not contest what is wrong in it, but in the struggle, in the field, I am always there. Because party is there. Without party, who bothers for me? So I am with the party, nothing wrong in it.
Well, let's now go across to Ratnadeep for more. And Ratnadeep, the last day of campaigning in this very hard-fought election for Tripura.
That's right, it is the last day of campaigning, and it is a very crucial election which is being fought in Tripura this time. In fact, we are at the campaign of the Chief Minister, Dr. Manik Saha. He is doing a door-to-door campaign here. You can see behind me, his supporters are waiting outside a house where he has just entered. In fact, for the BJP, this is going to be a prestige battle as well, because Tripura is the first of the 9 states that will go to poll ahead of the 2024 general elections. And for the BJP, they would like to start this state poll campaign on a victory note, and therefore retaining Tripura is very important for them. And therefore, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had campaigned here. He had held 3 meetings. Union Home Minister Amit Shah had visited Tripura at least 4 times. All the top leaders of the party, including JP Nadda, have been here several times. Their main strategies for Northeast, Himanta Biswa Sharma had been camping in Tripura, and therefore the campaign has been a high-pitched campaign for the BJP, but also with the opposition, the left and the CPIM, the left CPIM and the Congress coming together in a seat-sharing alliance, really trying to make sure that the opposition votes don't get divided. And in the tribal areas, the new party Tripura Mortha, led by the head of the erstwhile royal family, Pradyut Debbarman, they have emerged as a strong force. So it is a multi-corner battle. You have Trinamool Congress also contesting in 28 seats. Although Trinamool Congress is a fringe player in Tripura elections, but everything put together, this is not going to be a very easy election for the BJP. Although BJP has put all its efforts, its entire election machinery has been pressed in Tripura. They have concentrated in Tripura. The BJP supporters here, they are very confident of a victory. From every day they have been busy in door-to-door campaigns like this. In fact, we'll talk to some of the BJP supporters. आज आखिरी दिन है कैंपेन का. पार्टी ने बहुत जोर लगाया है इस कैंपेन में. ये जो इलेक्शन है, राजनीतिक जानकार कहते हैं टफ इलेक्शन होगा आप लोगों के लिए. कांग्रेस सीपीएम एक तरफ है, त्रिपुरा मत है. किस तरह से आप लोग बीजेपी सपोर्टर्स देखते हैं?
ये तो टफ इलेक्शन नहीं है हमारे लिए, और भी सिंपल हो गया. टफ नहीं है, लोग समझ रहे हैं टफ, लेकिन जैसा जोट हुआ है सीपीएम और कांग्रेस का, तो उससे जैसे त्रिपुरा मत का जैसे उसका चिंता भावना है, सब कुछ है, तो हमारे लिए और इजी हो गया. क्योंकि जितना है वोटर है एक्सेप्ट नहीं कर रहा है, जोट को एक्सेप्ट नहीं कर रहे हैं, हमारे लिए काम और ज्यादा आसान हो गया.
So there you are. This BJP supporter says that the Congress left seat sharing has actually made it easy for them because they are claiming that the normal voters are not accepting this alliance, and this is going to make things easier for the BJP. However, we'll have to wait and watch for the poll results. But the last day of campaigning is on in Tripura.
Right, Ratnadeep, thank you so much for getting us those details. Last day of campaigning before the elections on the 16th.
That's right, Ratnadeep really having to yell over the announcements being made there.
Absolutely. Moving on to more news, a 45-year-old woman and her daughter, 20-year-old, died in a fire during an anti-encroachment drive at a village in Kanpur Dehat district of Uttar Pradesh on Monday.
Now, the police say, however, that the two set themselves on fire, but their family claims it was the cops who set their hut ablaze when the women were inside, which resulted in these deaths, and an FIR has now been filed. Let's just listen to what the police said.
इसका जो घटना घटी है, क्या घटनाक्रम रही है और क्या इसके लिए कारण रहे हैं और कैसे ये घटना हुई है, उसके लिए जो है जांच कराई जाएगी और इसमें जो भी दोषी होगा तो उनके खिलाफ सख्त कार्रवाई की जाएगी और जो भी मदद उस परिवार को मिलना चाहिए, देना चाहिए, वो भी जो है प्रशासन और शासन के द्वारा जो है वो सभी मदद जो है उस परिवार को उपलब्ध कराया जाएगा और डिटेल इंक्वायरी के बाद जो भी इसमें गलत पाया जाएगा तो उसके खिलाफ जो भी नियमानुसार कार्रवाई है, प्रभावी कार्रवाई इस पर की जाएगी और परिवार को भी जो है जो भी सुरक्षा परिवार को भी चाहिए वो सुरक्षा भी जो है परिवार को उपलब्ध कराया जाएगा इस पर.
Well, let's go across to NDTV's Saurabh now for more. And Saurabh, this is absolutely shocking. You know what happened, this high-handedness of the police, which, you know, is talked about often. However, the police claiming the women set themselves on fire. But now an FIR has been filed.
Absolutely. And Gargi, when your SP is saying that they set them on fire, then why have you registered an FIR against your own people? So that's a big question. But that was an initial reaction from SP Rural Kanpur. Now we have just heard Zonal Commissioner of Kanpur, Raj Shekhar, is saying that they have set up an inquiry and they are having sympathetic approach towards the family of the two women, 44-year-old Parmila and her daughter Neha. They both were there. In fact, their hut was there, and yesterday SDM of that area along with revenue officials and police personnel, they were there regarding an anti-encroachment drive, and definitely there was some resistance from the family as well, but we still don't know why fire happened, but the police is still trying to find out the exact cause of fire, but the daughter and mother died, and the family of these two, they are saying that officials have said they have set that hut in the fire, and that is why their sister and his sister and his mother died. So police is still investigating, but definitely I just saw a video just now which I've received from an official of Uttar Pradesh police. In that video, Gargi, it is very visible that police officials are trying to rescue that daughter and mother. But in the same video, when they were trying to vacate that hut, but in that same video we saw the bulldozer as well. So that is something which is a question against the officials. Definitely high-handedness of police officials and district administrations has led to this incident, which is very unfortunate. Now FIR is registered against SDN, against the station officer, against the JCB driver, against few other villagers as well who had complained regarding this encroachment. So police is now investigating the matter. Lekpal of the area is suspended. Gargi. Police is investigating. Now family has agreed to cremate whatever the remain is of the daughter and mother. So things are now under control of police. Yesterday there was tension in that area after this whole incident. There was some there was incident of stone pelting as well. But now when ADG Kanpur and IG and commissioner of that zone, when they reach that spot, they pacify the situation. Now family has agreed to cremate the remains of the family, and when the FIR was registered, so as of now they have fortified the village and situation is under control, which was very tense late last night. Gargi.
Right. Thank you so much, Saurabh, for joining us with those details.
With that, time for us to slip into a short break. On the other side, NDTV special reports from Turkey.
An exodus from Turkey amid the earthquake aftershocks. That and a whole lot more on the other side. Let's get you the latest from Turkey and Syria. The death toll has crossed 35,000 and the struggle continues in freezing temperatures. The hope of rescuing people alive is fading in Syria and Turkey.
Now, it's been over a week since the 7.8 magnitude earthquake hit the countries, even as some miracle rescues have taken place. But on the other hand, people continue to grieve as extra graves are being built for unidentified people. The UN chief said on Monday that the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad has agreed to open 2 more border crossings to allow in aid to help victims of the earthquake that has left more than 35,000 dead in the region. Before the earthquake struck, almost all of the crucial humanitarian aid for more than 4 million people living in the rebel-controlled areas of northwestern Syria was being delivered from Turkey through just one conduit, one crossing. Here's an NDTV special report.
Grief turning into anger in Turkey over the government's slow response. A son blames President Erdogan for his mother's death under the rubble, with her body still being stuck after a week.
Artık yeter. Salı günü canlı canlı öldü burada. Canlı canlı. İstemiyorum ben. Yardım kuruluşu istemiyorum. Yurt dışı yardım kuruluşu istemiyorum. AFAD istemiyorum. İstemiyorum arkadaş. Herkesi çağırdım. Biz gönüllüyüz diyorlar. Biz yeterli değiliz diyorlar. Salı günü, pazar gününden böyle bu halde arkadaş. Nedir bu ya? İstemiyoruz, biz yardım kuruluşu istemiyoruz. Yemek içmek istemiyoruz. Biz canlarımızın kurtulmasını istiyoruz. Lütfen duyun sesimizi artık. Canlı canlı öldük Hatay'da. Hatay bitti. Hiçbir evde oturulmuyor artık.
More and more dead bodies are being recovered in Turkey and Syria as the chances of rescuing more people alive fade. The number of deaths has crossed 35,000. The worst earthquake death toll since the Haiti earthquake in 2010 that killed around 3 lakh people. This cemetery in Turkey's Malatya is expanding to make room for at least 300 new graves. After 1 week of the devastating 7.8 magnitude earthquake, stories of miraculous rescue operations emerged, like that of a 10-year-old girl saved in Turkey's Antakya. This village in Turkey, called Polat, has been almost entirely ruined.
Oraya götüreceğiz. Ondan sonra biz bakalım işte zaten arabanın uşaklar çocuklar burada. Onların arabasında kalıyor gece. Gece 22-23 derece oluyor 12'den sonra. Yaşamaya çalışacak bahara kadar.
Böyle çamurun içinde yatıyor. İkimiz, üçümüz, dördümüz bir yatıyor. Yer yok ne de 3 ev bir arada. 3-4. Bak aha şu taca tütüyor ya.
Syrians who were already living in a civil war for the last 12 years say that while help reached Turkey, The world let Syria down. A survivor who lost 13 members of his family blames the lack of international help.
الدنيا كل الكرة الأرضية خذلت الشعب السوري. هذا الدمار لو يكون بأوروبا أو دول أجنبي كان كل الدنيا اجتمعت لإنقاذ الشهداء اللي كانوا موجودين. بس هون نحن ما بقول لك ما في حدا يعني مثل بعضها. اللي هجرنا هنيك السيل علينا، طلعنا من بلادنا، سيل ضربنا بالبراميل بالطيران، سيل علينا هون. تركيا من هون ما بيجينا شيء، من هون ما بيجينا محاصرين نحن. ما لنا غير الله بس.
This at a time when the WHO chief met earthquake survivors in Syria.
Today with us we brought a cargo of 37 metric ton, as the minister said, and tomorrow another will follow, and we will continue to support you with medical supplies.
Now that it's been a week since the devastating earthquake struck, the chances of people still being alive under the rubble are low, raising fears of an even higher death toll. On the other hand, survivors are picking up pieces. As they grieve losing their families, the anger against the government grows. Priyanshi Sharma for NDTV.
And NDTV's Tanushree was travelling back from Turkey when an aftershock created mayhem at the airport, Gargi.
That's right, and we're lucky that our team there, Tanushree and Uma, managed to catch that flight. Take a look.
Many families who survived the first earthquake have now started to flee Gaziantep, which was the epicenter of the earthquake which struck Turkey and Syria on Monday early hours last week. And now it's been 7 days, but there are no signs of the countries going back to normalcy. There are still thousands of people who could have been trapped under the debris, under the rubble of buildings which collapsed. More than 2,000 buildings collapsed only in the southeastern part of the Turkey. The death toll has already gone up to 36,000, including deaths in Syria as well as Turkey. But the UN is saying that it's likely to rise and go beyond 56,000. That's what the UN is saying. And we have been speaking to the rescuers. They are saying that the chances are getting slimmer by each second to rescue people alive, but they are saying that they do not want to leave any stone unturned to ensure that there is absolutely no one under the debris who could be alive. So that's why they are working round the clock. And with elections round the corner, there are elections in Turkey in June, and that's why the president is trying his best to maintain his popularity. One of the reasons for the devastation was also the sturdiness of the building, and that's why many builders have also been arrested. But on the ground, the problems are increasing. We have been in the relief camps. The families are saying that they are struggling to keep themselves alive as there is acute shortage of food, water, heating equipment in this kind of a harsh temperature, and even warm clothes to keep the children warm. So that's why the problems on the ground are increasing. Countries are extending help, but the help is not suffice to counter a damage, a destruction, a devastation of this magnitude. And on the ground, many shopkeepers have also started to shut their shops, and especially the shops which sell assault rifles, because they are saying that there is an apprehension that crime can also go up. So many problems. It's adding to the woes, it's adding to the plight of the survivors. There are thousands of people who have survived the earthquake. They have been rescued alive, but they have lost their families, they have lost their homes, and now they are forced to live in relief camps, and many hundreds are even living on the streets with no food, not enough water, not even enough warm clothes. We request you to send as much help as you can to Turkey and Syria, and keep praying for both the countries. And as we have been showing you layers of devastation and human cost, but after 7 days of this earthquake, we want to say that Umaris Turke ve Suryebu Trajediden Kurtulasak Gusu Bulur, which means we really hope that Turkey and Syria get the strength to recover from this tragedy. And with that hope, I'm signing off from Ground Zero in Turkey for NDTV.
Those were visuals from day one of Asia's largest aero show, Aero India 2023, and it'll enthrall audiences with their displays from the Indian Air Force's aerobatics team Sarang today as well, followed by displays by French aviation Rafale and also Sukhoi. The 14th edition will also see Defence Minister Rajnath Singh preside over the Defence Conclave, with Defence Ministers from 32 countries taking part. The conclave will drive forward the Make in India policy and open up opportunities for defence ministers to engage in discussions for deepening cooperation for capacity building as well as provisioning for defence equipment. Now, for the first time, the United States has surprised us with their debut of F-35, the supersonic and multi-role fighters making entry into Indian airspace. The fighter is lethal and has a leading edge of the US fighter technology that is all set to impress the crowd with a demo of its aerial capabilities. NDTV Shrija reports.
The Aero India is showcasing the most lethal, capable, the United States fighter jet and also capable interoperable weapon system the US has to offer. In fact, the United States Air Force's newest 5th generation fighters, the stealthy supersonic multi-role F-35A is what you're seeing right here. And also you have the F-16. After a journey, especially from the Hill Air Force Base right in the United States. In fact, the team has arrived here at the Aero India 2023 to impress the crowds. You have especially the static display right over here, and onto my right you also have the F-18. Now that is something which we understand has still been a contention as far as the Indian Navy goes, because remember the aircraft carriers that we're talking about, the INS Vikramaditya and its successor INS Vikrant. Now the Indian government is still deciding especially which are the multi-role fighter aircrafts that they will have to procure. But for now, we see that these are the two major contenders. Of course, we did speak to Major General Julian Cheetah. He did, of course, point to the fact that this is what the US has to offer. But of course, it's left up to the US, in fact, to the government, Indian government, to decide and who should they really go with, whether it's going to be Rafale or it's going to be F-18 or not. At the Aero India with Kumar in Bengaluru, Shrija for NDTV.
INS Vikramaditya and its successor INS Vikrant are the two operational aircraft carriers that have boosted India's naval footprint in the Indo-Pacific. But the Indian Navy is still at the discussion stage on procuring maritime fighter planes. Two major planes are in contention, France's Rafale and the US F-18. She also spoke to Michael Baker, senior defense official at the US Embassy, on where the discussions stand.
Joining us here on NDTV is Mr. Mike, a senior defense official, New Delhi US Embassy. Thank you for speaking to NDTV.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. The first question, of course, is the F-18 still in contention with the Indian Navy?
Yes, the F-18 is still in contention with the Indian Navy. We brought our F-18 out to India at Hansa Airfield last October and went through extensive testing with the Indian Navy. The Indian Navy has done all of their evaluation on the fighter program and sent that forward for the government for consideration, to my understanding. And we think that the F-18 still represents a great choice for India. This is the most, or one of the most, maybe the most battle-tested strike fighter aircraft from aircraft carriers of all time. So it's got an incredible, incredible record, and we're very proud of this aircraft and happy to be in the competition.
Would you be able to, tell us more about in terms of what stage of discussion is when you're talking about? Of course, definitely it is, for India, it is F-18 versus Rafale. So what stage of, contention is this we're talking about?
So from my perspective, the both countries and fighting forces have put their aircraft forward, have gone through the tests. The Indian Navy has done their rigorous testing. We continue to cooperate and communicate with them closely. But I think we're at the point now where they've completed all of that technical analysis, and we're up for a decision for the government of India.
News now from Delhi, and after more than 3 days of the Delhi Development Authority's demolition drive in Mehrauli, the High Court is set to hear the matter today. Residents of the area whose houses were razed in front of their eyes moved the High Court yesterday, and the Delhi High Court, while hearing a bunch of pleas, directed the DDA to maintain status quo in the demolition action in Mehrauli till the court hearing today. Let's go across to Vedant now for more. And Vedant, it was really, tense scenes yesterday, and also so many distraught families finally relief with the stay, and they're pleased to be heard by the High Court today.
That's right, Gargi. So after 3 days of continued demolition here in Delhi's Mehrauli, today the High Court will be hearing a bunch of petitions, in fact 10 petitions, and till the time the High Court actually hears those petitions, the High Court yesterday ordered status quo to be maintained as far as the demolition action here in Mehrauli is concerned. So remember, residents moved the High Court yesterday. Residents Welfare Association body also moved the High Court, and they said that they have all the title documents as far as the registry is concerned, as far as electricity and water bills are concerned, and despite that, their houses were demolished. Now, yesterday the High Court in fact also pulled up the Delhi Development Authority, saying that on Friday the High Court had said that the demolitions have to be stayed and a fresh assessment has to be done, and despite that the demolitions continued. So the High Court pulled up the Delhi Development Authority on Friday, but today the High Court will be hearing a bunch of petitions, and the residents hope that they will at least, those who have lost their property will at least be given some land elsewhere, and those residents who have been served the notice, the demolition activity will be stayed. Now remember, these residents of Mehrauli were given a notice back in December, so they say that they were given just 1 month, just a month's time to vacate their houses, and after that they went to the court, they went to the residents' member of parliament, and all the members of parliament assured them that their houses will not be demolished. Now, one very important thing to point out here is that the court in fact had also said that all those houses which are built before 2006, before those Delhi special laws, they have protection against demolition despite a court order. So all these aspects will be examined today, and after that the court will order based on what the petitions have to say, and based on the fact that whether the residents will actually be able to produce title documents in court or not. Now the politics over it of course also continues, because remember, the Delhi Development Authority comes under the central government, under the Lieutenant Governor, and the Revenue Department under the Aam Aadmi Party government had ordered fresh assessment of land. Despite that, the demolitions continue. So of course, this is not free from the politics of it, and the politics of it really at the core of the matter. But of course, the fact is that residents saw yesterday that the houses were razed right in front of their eyes.
All right, Vedant, thanks so much for joining us with those details. The Mauritius Minister for Financial Services and Good Governance has been in India seeking more investments from the country that hopes to shed its image as a tax haven and expand its option beyond China for investments. NDTV's Maha gets us this exclusive interview.
I have with me the Mauritius Financial Services and Good Governance Minister, Mahin Kumar Siratan, with us here today. Many thanks for speaking with NDTV. My first question is with regards to your visit here in India. It's been a long, 1 week long visit. What kind of investments is Mauritius looking at from India, considering that India and Mauritius are close Indian Ocean partners, but Mauritius has had very close ties with China as well. Vis-a-vis that, what is it exactly that Mauritius is looking at from India currently?
Well, first I must say that we have been a bit absent physically in India, because due to the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, traveling was a bit of a challenge. So we felt that now that things are getting normalized, it's about time that we re-engage with the business community in India. Probably you are aware that at one time we were on the FATF grey list. That too has been now cleared, because we have exited that FATF grey list in record time. And as a consequence of that, we also exited the EU blacklist. So now Mauritius has a fully compliant jurisdiction with regard to AML CFT matters. We wanted, of course, to share that with the business community.
There's also a commentary, sir, that Mauritius wants to shed its tax haven image, and that is why it is opening up further. What would you say about that?
I think it's been unfair to be always tagging Mauritius as a tax haven. For me, there is one institution international institution, which is the OECD, which is a recognized body that is responsible to set standards with regard to tax matters. And based on their criteria, the conditions that they have put, Mauritius is on the white list of the OECD when it's with regards to tax matters. In fact, we don't practice any harmful tax regime, if I can put it this way. We tick all the boxes. And that is why I feel that it's unfair sometimes in the media. We see this happening again, and it's good that I have this opportunity today through your TV to convey that message that Mauritius is fully compliant with the OECD requirements with regard to tax matters, and we are fully compliant with that. Same thing with AML safety matters, which is governed by the FATF. So on both issues, Mauritius is fully compliant, and that's where we intend to be, always adhering to those standards, so that we maintain our level as a IFC of repute and substance.
Very briefly, what are the sectors that Mauritius is looking at for investments from the Indian side?
You know, we are looking more now towards ESG projects, because the whole world is now going through, or I would say investors are willing to put their money in projects that are very sustainable. That's what we see with all the FIs in Europe as well. And I know that today, if we want to attract investments, so that's where people are willing to really put their money in. So that's why we are coming up with a new ESG framework that would probably be one way to attract investment on these projects. But the other sector where we are really also putting much emphasis on is on fintech. You know, that's why we came with a new piece of legislation in 2021, which is called the VITOS, the Virtual Assets and Initial Token Offering Services Act. It's a piece of legislation that captures all the requirements, especially with regard to AML safety matters, in line with the recommendations of the FATF. So this is a piece of legislation which is, I would say, not many jurisdictions has adopted that kind of regulated space for fintech activities. And we feel that now that Mauritius, after 30 years in the financial services sector as a global IFC, we're looking at the next 30 years how it's going to be. So one area where we feel that that can take us to new heights is the fintech area. And I know in India you're very much in that space, so I'm sure there's a lot of things we can do together.
So, sir, this is with regards to India's SEBI seeking certain information from Mauritius, from its counterpart. Is there any specific entity that they have wanted to inquire upon? What was the information sought on their end, and has Mauritius shared that information?
You know, when it comes to regulators, Mauritius, we have the Financial Services Commission, which is the equivalent of SEBI in India. And they have a kind of MOU signed between the two regulators, and this allows them to exchange information every time when there's a need for information. So they would reach out either from India to Mauritius or from Mauritius to India. So SEBI will reach out to the FSC, or FSC will reach out to SEBI for information. And I must say this is something which has always been there for quite some time now, and it has never been an institution where information has been requested and have not been provided. So I can say this is a very close collaboration that exists between those two regulators, and Mauritius is also party to the IOSCO, which is the International Organization for Securities Commission. So this is where they have the duty to share information. So we have always been party to that, and we have always shared information whenever it's been requested among competent authorities. So for that, I can tell you that every time there has been any request for Mauritius, the FSC, Mauritius has always been there to collaborate, and we will continue to do that. I can reassure you on that account.
2 students have died by suicide in 2 days at 2 of India's premier tech institutes, one in IIT Powai and the other in IIT RK Valley, Andhra Pradesh. While the police probe reasons for the extreme step, there are those who claim that discrimination on campus could have led to the tragedies, though neither of the institutes nor the police have reacted to these allegations. Uma Sudhir and Sohit Mishra report.
A candlelight march by students at IIT Bombay on Sunday evening, after the death of an 18-year-old first-year student, Darshan Solanki, who allegedly jumped to his death from the 7th floor of his hostel at 1:30 in the afternoon. Just 3 months ago, Darshan from Ahmedabad joined the BTech course in chemical engineering. Institute Director Subhashish Chaudhary said in a note to students, Powai police is investigating the case. The parents of the student have been informed and they are on their way. With the first end semester exams getting over on Saturday, there is speculation on whether academic pressure pushed him to take the extreme step. A student group, Ambedkar Periyar Phule Study Circle at IIT Bombay, however, allege that his death is linked to his caste, claiming first-year students face the most harassment in terms of anti-reservation sentiments and taunts of non-deserving and non-meritorious. There is a lack of representation of faculty and counsellors from the marginalized. Neither the police nor IIT has reacted yet to these allegations. At IIIT RK Valley in Andhra Pradesh, 22-year-old Akhila was found dead in her hostel room on Monday. The final year engineering student was the daughter of a labourer working in Kuwait. No suicide note has been found. The police are investigating the trigger for the extreme step. What is common between the tragic deaths at IIT Powai and IIIT RK Valley is that they came from very marginalized sections and had made it to the top educational institutions with a lot of dreams and hope. Whether they felt caste oppression, inability to deal with stress or academic pressure, what is obvious is that there is need for counselling and reach out to these very vulnerable youngsters. With Sohit Mishra in Mumbai, in Hyderabad with camera person Nagaraju, Uma Sudhir, NDTV.
And now let's cut across to where a tribute is being paid to the Pulwama martyrs. In 2019, the Pulwama attack took place on the 14th when a convoy of vehicles carrying Indian security personnel on the Jammu-Srinagar National Highway was attacked by a vehicle-borne suicide bomber. This took place in Lethapura in the Pulwama district of what was previously known as the state of Jammu and Kashmir, and today is the 4th anniversary of the Pulwama attack in which 40 security personnel were killed. 40 CRPF officers were killed in that terror attack.
वाइट है अभी नहीं चल क्या वनू होता यार